Kevin Durant. There are updates with the Brooklyn Nets, who continue to be without KD. Durant last played February 13th against the Warriors. He stayed back from Brooklyn's 3-game road trip last week while he works through what Steve Nash deemed a critical last part of his rehabilitation. But good news for the Nets. Kyrie Irving is back tonight after missing the trip to attend a family matter. I want to welcome in our NBA reporter, Malika Andrews, who covers the Nets. So, Malika, we've been waiting for this week to find out what's the latest with him. So what is the latest about KD and when he could return from that hamstring injury?
Well, unfortunately, Matt, Kevin Durant is out tonight against the Timberwolves, and Steve Nash told me that it is unlikely, that is the word that he used. He said he doubts that Kevin Durant is going to return at all for Brooklyn this week. Now, you mentioned he wasn't with the team because he was at that critical last part of his rehab. Now, Kevin Durant is able to play some 4-on-4. They are slowly working him back up. Sources within the organizations confirmed to me that, yes, initially this hamstring strain was a little bit more mild than they anticipated it being, but they are using the luxury of time here because they have it. They are winning without him, and they want him to be healthy for the most critical part of the season because this team has not shied away from the fact that they are working toward winning a championship. So they have a nice stretch at home this week. They have a schedule that they feel good about their odds against those opponents, but Kevin Durant, along with Landry Shamet, Steve Nash says, is unlikely to play during that stretch.
Yeah, Malika, that's an excellent point. They have time on their side, and you'd pointed out they are winning without him. No need to rush if you don't need to. And with Durant sidelined, the Nets adding yet another piece to their roster. Over the weekend, the Nets added LaMarcus Aldridge via the buyout, the Brooklyn trailing the 76ers by just a game for the Eastern Conference standing. So Aldridge averaging nearly 14 points for the Spurs in 21 games this season. If this was 2013, this would be the greatest collection of all-stars we've ever seen, Malika. What's the reaction you are hearing from the Nets about Aldridge's addition?
Well, they are excited. I have talked to Nicholas Claxton. I've talked to Bruce Brown. I've talked to Blake Griffin all about this. And Steve Nash could not officially comment on this because when we spoke with him last, he had not officially signed with the team. That deal was done last night. They're expecting to use him in a role where he plays a lot of minutes at center. He's coming off the bench. But this is a team that's excited to have him. Blake Griffin said that he's looking forward to not playing against him. And it's crazy to think that he, James Harden, and LaMarcus Aldridge are all on the same team. But it's interesting you said that, Matt, about if this was 2013, because Blake Griffin said it's been interesting to him to see the change in people's attitude towards him, towards veterans like LaMarcus Aldridge, in talking about them as being washed out of the league. But then they come to Brooklyn, and all of a sudden it adds to the allure of them being a juggernaut. So it's going to be interesting. LaMarcus Aldridge is out, I'm told, tonight. He's going to be, similarly to Blake Griffin, going through a ramp-up period because he has not played since early March, Matt.
Chiney, all right, where do you think the addition of LaMarcus, how does that help this already potent Nets roster in Brooklyn? I mean, the rich get richer, right? Is that fair?
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. The rich gets richer. LaMarcus Aldridge clearly is a 7-time NBA All-Star. So, of course, he's bringing that veteran savvy and, of course, that basketball IQ to Brooklyn. Now, at the age of 35, this is the hope for LaMarcus. No more banging in the paint, on offense. Instead, which really works to Brooklyn's favor, he's going to continue to stretch the floor out as a big, as a pick-and-pop shooter, someone that can knock it down, which really works well for the Nets. And hopefully that 6'11" height and frame will also provide an added bonus of rim protection, hopefully decent rebounding on the other end, which they really need. So right now, Sage, Brooklyn, they have all of the names with all of the game. It's officially an arms race to win a championship these days, and Brooklyn right now has the most weapons.
Yeah, they were your favorite to come out of the East before adding LA, and now they do just that. So you talk about them in the East, and then out West, the Lakers, the favorites out West. I think that's one that you've been sticking with. LA getting center Andre Drummond on the buyout market after he cleared waivers. He hasn't played a game since February 12th after he and the Cavs decided they would separate until a trader contract buyout. He's averaging 17.5, also 13.5 boards in 25 games with Cleveland this season. So let's recap. Lakers without LeBron and Anthony Davis at the moment. With the Nets, Kyrie expected back tonight, still no KD. So let's look ahead. When both of these rosters are finally at full strength, which we hope does happen, Which one is better, Chiney, the Nets or the Lakers?
And I know you always want me to give a real take, and I will give you one, Sage. On paper, the Brooklyn Nets are the best team in basketball, but we all know that there are many factors that can deter that, especially this year. Chemistry in year one, health, the availability of their stars. Meanwhile, I love what the Lakers have done. The defending champs, they've made this big move to contend with the #1 team. They just reloaded with Andre Drummond. People sleep on this new AD. Yeah, we got 2 ADs in town. In other words, the Lakers just added a 27-year-old, 2-time NBA All-Star that is averaging 13 rebounds to the team with the #1 defensive rating in the NBA. That's a small move. That's going to be a big move. This guy gives you 9 defensive rebounds and 4 offensive rebounds a game. This is exactly what they needed, a true center that can gobble up every board, split minutes with AD. I'm talking about Anthony Davis. So he can start as fresh as possible. Both squads got better. So Brooklyn has the edge with their bajillion stars, but the Lakers are doing exactly what they need to do as well. I love all this chaos.
You know what? That's a good way of putting it, chaos, and it is a beautiful thing, especially with those 2 teams in particular making these 2 moves at the exact same time. Couldn't script it better. We'll see how it plays out. Chiney, thank you, as always, for coming with the real take.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.